I'm going to call us to order at 6:30. This is the Board of Water Commissioners. It is Tuesday evening, October 20th. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to an order issued by the Governor of Massachusetts dated March 12th, 2020, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. I don't see anyone else on the line at this point. We have 2 items of business on our agenda, and I am going to adjourn this meeting by 7 o'clock so that we can start our next meeting on time. Jim Taylor, Chair of the Water Company Transition and Evaluation Committee, and Russ Tierney, Superintendent for the Water System. Thank you both for joining us. The first item of business on our agenda is a vote to sign an agreement with Environmental Partners Group to prepare a water system master plan for the Weir River water system. Russ, we've received a packet of information from you, but perhaps you could just kind of give us some of the headlines, and then perhaps we just ask Jim Taylor, I know it was discussed at your meeting last night, if you could just summarize the discussion that you had. So Russ, why don't you take it away?
Sure, no problem. So there's a few tasks involved in this proposal from EP to get the master plan done. There was a few more, but after talking with them, there was about 10 tasks. And a few of them I think that myself and Suez could handle ourselves, and Ryan agreed, so we decided to take those off this. The first task is more just a project coordination and site visits. Sorry, my dog's about to bark, so if he does, I'll hang off for a second. His mother just came home. Client meetings. The second task is to review all the documentation we already have and get a really good, deep description of the water system and infrastructure, how it stands at this point. The third task is to go through the sources. I know they're all in the RFP, but these descriptions are going to be much more robust. How many gallons per minute they produce, what their drawdowns are, and things like that, which they will be using some of the reports that we get from MAR this week or next week. The next one is an evaluation of supply and demand. Again, using some of the Tata Howard information, some of the other information, some new information that we have, look at supply and demand for the system over the next 5 to 10 years. The big one to me is the distribution assessment. I think we're all pretty clear on we probably need some more storage in the system. But again, review everything, come up with recommendations to the board and the town. Task 6 is update the hydraulic model. That is going to be a little bit undertaking in my opinion, because a lot of updates weren't made over the past 2 to 3 years. The books that we have aren't including some of the upgrades that were done over the past couple of years. So I am gathering up that information. Myself, Ryan have been looking at it. I gave everything to Ryan and everybody. So we kind of have been going back and forth with that info. We have it, just needs to be put into the hydraulic model. And then finally is the report. I don't know if anyone's seen one of these reports. Feel free to Google them. I'll find a couple for you guys tomorrow and send them over to you. Just look at them real quick. They're very detailed. They can be up to 100 pages long. And they're very, very detailed on where we should go, what our first steps are, and then in the future. And then we also discussed, we do have money in 5 years to update it because it is a work in progress. It's a fluid plan. It's not set in concrete, so things can change over years. But that's basically what it is in a nutshell.
Russ, could you perhaps just before turning it over to Jim, could you describe how you will use this this capital master plan over the next 5 years? How it will guide you in setting priorities, making decisions? How will you use it?
I'll use it to make sure that we spend our money very wisely and put it all in the right place. So meaning, you can just walk around and start putting water mains. And I think we got in this discussion last night where, where do we put our first set of water mains? We have a few projects that are shovel ready, Mary, which we are going to do most of those. But then it'll look at the entire system and say, where is the best place to start, get the most hydraulically for the system? Because one of the things that is definitely on everybody's mind is water quality. The best way to improve water quality is to have a good flushing program. The best way to have a good flushing program is to have the appropriate size mains, the appropriate valves in the appropriate location so that you can direct water and flow. And the biggest thing is to do a good flushing program, we need to know how much water we have, how much water we can use, and what we have for storage to use to do that flushing program. So it all rolls into all the different things that you want to do maintenance-wise in a water system. And it all just kind of puts it in a package where we can follow it. So it's like a roadmap.
Thank you. Jim, perhaps this is a good time, and if you could introduce yourself and give your name and address for the record, and just maybe summarize the discussion your committee had last night and the results of the vote for this item.
Sure. My name is Jim Taylor. I'm at 3 Gristmill Lane in Hingham, of course. I'm the chair of the Water Transition and Evaluation Committee. It's a committee of 5 volunteers. We reviewed the proposal from environmental partners, discussed it in detail with Russ, went through the requirements, went through the objectives of the plan, and one of the members had some questions around the timing of it. Is it appropriate to do this now, or should we wait a little bit longer until we've had more experience with owning the system? But the consensus of the group was that it made a lot of sense to move forward for a lot of reasons. The first reason is, we now own this system. There was data collected and analyzed by the prior owner, but their priorities may be much different from ours. So it makes sense for us as a municipally owned utility to have a full, a very well-researched, well-done master plan to help guide us on our capital commitments and capital priorities over the next 5 to 10 years. So again, the consensus of the group was to move forward with the plan. It was unanimously agreed upon that a plan was needed. The question was, how in depth should the plan be? And more than the majority of us felt very strongly that it was, and it made a lot of sense to move forward with the plan as proposed by environmental partners.
Thank you. At this point, I'm going to open it up to Joe and Bill for questions either of Russ or of Jim or of Tom and Michelle.
Sure. So thank you both for your efforts. Looking at the proposal, I was surprised by one thing that I read. And it says the hydraulic model provided by Aquarian did not include pertinent information necessary to perform hydraulic analyses. And that's one of the reasons we need to move forward. So did we not get data from Aquarian that we were entitled to, or they just did not provide, they just didn't do that? This is under task 6. It's actually the first paragraph that describes task 6.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. I can actually explain that. It's more of the data's outdated to a certain point, some of it. We did get data from Aquarian.
Okay.
The problem is you need a certain number of nodes to produce a good hydraulic model.
Yeah.
So it's how many flow tests have been done over the past 2 to 3 to 4 years and things like that. If you have flow tests from 5 or 6 years ago, we know the system has the capacity of systems have been reduced, especially the tank. You took down one of the tanks. So that is not included in the hydraulic model as of right now, which will be, right, and that it'll be run. So yes, we did get information from them, but it's not enough information for us to do a really good hydraulic model.
Yep. And will this study help us as we do every summer, it seems, imposing water restrictions to make sure that we're actually doing it at the right time, at the right levels? Is this the sort of data that will assist us in that regard?
This data is more to tell us how much water we need going forward in the future. So how do we find that water? How do we plan for that water? No, the restrictions are more based on the pumping rates in the wells, which, some of us know that we need to do, the wells need to be rehabilitated, which will give us back some more capacity in the wells. But no, that's not really what it will help us in that regard, but it's more to tell us, where we stand for production, how much water we have and how much water we'll need.
Yeah, but I mean, reading the analysis, it looks like part of one of the reasons for the model is to assess the best ways to maintain the pressure requirements. And I thought water restrictions that were associated with maintaining adequate pressure throughout the system.
No, it's kind of so the pressure
It's the
is more, yeah, well, it's more the tanks is more the pressure and the volume, the flow to have the volume.
Yep.
In the summertime, the restrictions is more the flow. So as the tanks go down, yes, there is lower pressure in the system, but you don't have that capacity of flow sometimes. So it's a combination of both. So flow and pressure are related immensely in the water industry. But some people feel you lose pressure, but sometimes it's not you're losing pressure, you're losing flow. And a good example is, a person has a home and suddenly they call us up and say, my pressure's way down. Well, it's not their pressure, it's actually their flow, because the pressure is still there. It's the flow, they got a crimp in their line or it's restricted. And you have restrictions right now in the pipes because of their age. So the hydraulic model is going to tell us where those restrictions are most abundant. And that's going to tell us where to go to replace stuff, so then start the flow. It's really based on, the droughts are really based on the conditions of the wells and the condition of the pond. And it will help us in some ways, but it's not exactly what it's made for.
Got it. Just one final quick question. I note that the agreement provides for all of the deliverables to be delivered by no later than June 30th. Is that adequate time to get all this done?
Yeah, and I made a mistake last night on the meeting, Jim, so I'm sorry. I had my date wrong, but it's June 30th. Yeah, it is. They're going to put a lot of people on this effort. I know they are. I've already talked to them about it. And they want us to have this, the draft done and us to make it so we can make some decisions for the next fiscal year. I know the final report is June 30th, but we'll have enough information from the draft reports and everything else to make decisions for next fiscal year.
Thank you.
Bill?
Russ, just a quick question. Well, first of all, thanks to you and Jim for all your hard work. I appreciate it. Russ, I noticed in the last couple of weeks we've had 3 water main breaks, and I actually went down and looked at the one on near North Street, and I thought you did a wonderful job responding so quickly. But 3 breaks in a short period of time, is that of concern? Should we be concerned about that? And can you just go over quickly what caused the break? Is it age and wear and tear on the system, or is it pressure? Or
it's age. It was age.
Yeah.
That was a stress fracture across the lateral of the main. So it's definitely a stress fracture. That pipe is an older cast iron main. I know it's broken twice in the past few years, I guess. So I have those guys digging me up the info on that, because that may be someplace we want to look, because it's a very short run, but it's a very important run. And it is a 12-inch water main. So when it breaks pretty well. So that was definitely a stress fracture.
we had 1 or 2 recently as well, right? At least
We had a couple in Hull that were small ones, though. One was a 2-inch and one was a 4-inch, I believe.
Okay,
So-
so nothing to be concerned about.
No, the ones in Hull are definitely age-related. One was a 2-inch line running up off of Nantasket Ave, and the other one was down on, I wish I knew the name. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the
That's
street.
okay.
But that was a 4-inch line, which are older. But again, no, the bigger mains are, and that's the other thing with the hydraulic model, we can see, bigger mains, stuff that's going to cause us some serious damage if it breaks. So it's really a good tool, and it's going to really help us with the future. But you have 180 miles of pipe and 3 breaks, and knock on wood, because things come in threes, and I brought that to someone's attention, so we should be good for a little while. But it's going to happen. But again, it is age. It's absolutely age.
I'll just jump in here. I think when we bought the water system, the average age of the 190 miles of pipe under the ground was about 67 years. And I think the average life of a water main is about 70. So, precisely one of the reasons that we're doing this capital plan is because we know we have an aging infrastructure that needs a big infusion of capital. To Russ's earlier point, we want to do that really efficiently, and we want to get the biggest bang for our buck, because not only do aging water mains lead to breaks like the one Bill saw, but also these aging water mains result in unaccounted for water. And remember, that's water that gets pumped, treated, and then lost in the system. And so, as we think about conservation and water restrictions, replacing a main is going to help with that unaccounted for water, which has a lot of different benefits. Back when the town was contemplating purchasing the system, we said we were going to do a capital study in year 1. And this is what it is right now. This is the capital study. Jim, I appreciate the comments from your committee about, is this the right time and do we have enough data? Those are important discussions to have. I think I'd feel a whole lot better going into next fiscal year with a roadmap.
Yep.
And I also have confidence in Russ and environmental partners that as we proceed, as we learn new things, we may modify that capital plan. We may modify priorities. Things may get adjusted. So I don't necessarily see it as a static document once it's developed, but really more of a baseline and a target. I think, Russ, I'm glad that you're looking at environmental partners because I think their knowledge of the system and their experience, particularly in the last year, means that the quality of the work we will get from them and the quality plan will be even higher. And I also think that some of that institutional knowledge, is reflected in the price quote we got. Lastly, I would just mention that to the public, and again, this is one of the reasons that we bought this water system. When capital plan decisions used to be made, Hingham, Hull, North Cohasset, we had very little impact as to the priorities or the spending levels. Once this plan is complete, capital requests are going to be vetted through the Capital Outlay Committee in a public process where everybody can engage. So all of us as ratepayers will have a voice in how our ratepayer dollars are being spent. And I think that for many of us, that was one of the compelling reasons to purchase the system. At this point, I would just ask if there's anyone in the public who has a question or wishes to make a comment on this item before we take a vote. Okay, seeing none, Bill or Joe, would one of you like to make a motion, please?
Mary,
Yes.
I note that the proposed motion authorizes the board to sign. Looking at the document, page 6 for the signature, it appears that there is only one signature, presumably for the chair.
Oh, okay.
So I would propose actually a little different language than what's in the proposed vote. So I would
Joe,
move.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I do see that John Coughlin is on the line. And perhaps before we make
Sure.
the vote, we could just clarify with him whether it should be a vote and signatures of the entire board or just the chair. That way
Right.
we do this right.
John?
Tom, I don't know if you have a thought on that.
Joe, can you hear
There
me?
he is. He was muted.
Oh, sorry, I was
Hi,
muted,
John.
Joe. Yep, I think you can do it either way. Joe, I think it's perfectly fine to have a motion to authorize the chair to sign on behalf of the board if there's one signature line. It doesn't require all three signatures, so.
Yeah.
As long as the vote matches the signature at the end, it doesn't matter which way you
Right.
go.
Thanks, John.
Yep.
Go for it, Joe.
So then I would move that the Board of Selectmen, acting as the Board of Water Commissioners, authorize its chair to sign the agreement with Environmental Partners Group, Inc. to prepare a water system master plan for the Weir River water system in an amount not to exceed $125,000.
Any further discussion? All those in favor by roll call vote. Joe?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Mary? Aye. Thank you. In the 11 minutes we have remaining, our second agenda item is a water superintendent report. Back on October 2nd, Russ provided us with a monthly report that he's been working with Suez on developing a format for, as well as some activities. Russ, maybe I would ask you to just give us a couple of headlines from this report and then open it up to Joe and Bill for questions about specific items.
Sure. So just so you know, the report's been revised and revamped, and I have the next reiteration for October. It actually looks it's nicer. We did add some stuff that we had talked about in that meeting on the phone, the conference call. So I'll give that out to everybody in a couple of days. I just want to go through it myself. Some highlights. You all know about the water main break. We're up to 12 fire hydrants replaced in Hull. We are going to start replacing some in Hingham. So that's going very well. Paving continues to go well. All the applications and forms have been transferred over to Weir River Water System. Contractors are very positive about them. They like the way it flows, and they did well. Akron Pond, the levels remain critical, but the pond has been shut down. The well pump is shut off. I'm sorry, the well pump. The pump is shut down. So right now we're just feeding off gravity. The well rehab capacity testing was done this week and last week. We should have a report within a couple of weeks from my services. And then as far as the water ban goes, we're going to put in place a better plan for next year on how to enforce it and get people to comply to it. I think we did really well for the time we had, because when we walked in the door, it hit the fan. So we absolutely covered it, but I think we can do a better job covering it next year. The treatment plant is being cleaned as we speak. The lime room got done the past 2 days. The permanganate room's next, and the rest of that other work will be done within the next week. I have 2 more prices coming in for the cleaning of the tight tank. We'll have those by Friday, so we'll have a better number on that by the end of this week and get it done. I know I talked about the distribution system, but the biggest concern I see with the distribution system right now is the ability to control water. There were a lot of broken gate valves, but as we do some of this work with the hydrants and things like that, we are finding broken valves and we're fixing them. The good news is the 12-inch valves for that main break on Mill Street worked perfectly, so that was good news. Hydrant maintenance, a few things going on. Suez is, all the vehicles have been done. I do have the vehicles that we obtained from Aquarian going on a schedule with the DPW garage to be one a week to be looked at and gone through to see if there's any major issues with any of them. The Bulow Road capital work, the Bulow Road Forget-Me-Not Lane project will be put out the bid tomorrow. It'll be posted tomorrow. I do have a new storage tank study in my hands. I gave it to Tom. It's just to do a quick study on where to place the new tank. And then we'll get into that more next year. The master plan we just reviewed, and now I'm starting to look at the Wampatuck job that was shovel ready to see how that fits into all we're doing. The good thing about EP having the old hydraulic model, we can utilize that to a certain point. So it did help me with a couple things we were working on. So I'm going to have them run that Wampatuck too and see how that falls into place with what we have now. The last thing I can bring up to you guys is the cost of service study. I should have a proposal from Abrams in the next week. They have been working diligently and I think night and day on the billing issues. We do have a meeting with Aquarian on what Thursday. It'll be myself, Matt, and Maria. So all 3 of us are going to get together with them so we can channel all of our efforts at them to get the answers that we all need. We've been asking them questions individually, and now we think it's time to get together as a group and go at them that way. So that's how we're going to do it on Thursday. And then the office, I saw the pictures. I know I sent them out to you guys. I'm going to go look at it myself on Friday, but I think it's a very good location. We did present it and talk to it with the water committee last night. And the big thing that we liked about it, it's like right in the middle between Hingham and Hull. So it's a good, easy place for the people in Hull to get down to pay their bills also. That's about it.
Joe or Bill, any questions for Russ about the operational update?
You touched on it briefly. Customer billing and collections, are we on track?
So yeah, so I did look at the projected revenues for the first 2 months, and they are within $1,000, which is good. But there are some questions that need to be answered on a few of them, probably mostly in our favor. I'm not sure how much revenue it is, but it's just issues that we need to iron out before moving forward.
And how is customer service working out? People calling and getting to the right person?
Yeah, it can get tricky sometimes because it kind of circles itself a little bit, but we have been working on some new language for that. John Mongi and I have been working together on it. We're going to continue to work on it so we can iron it out. But if you look at the number of calls they've answered over the past couple of months, the number that make it to me is very small, but some of them are stuff that I think should never make it to me, which is fine. This is a transition, but we're taking care of the customers once they get to me. And the customers that I've talked to are a little frustrated, but they seem happy that once they get to me, we have their issue resolved within 24 hours.
Great, thank you.
Bill?
You there?
Bill, any questions?
No, no questions.
Okay, Russ, just one question that I had, mostly for the benefit of the audience, but could you just describe the kind of ongoing quality testing of the water that's just sort of, you know, the standard processes for testing and reporting water quality with the DEP?
Yep, so the DEP has a sampling schedule that's put out for every water system, which Suez is following to the T. They have loaded all of the sampling up into a program that tracks it to make sure it's getting done properly. That information is public information. So if anybody wants those results, just, you know, send me an email, give us a call. We'll send you whatever results we have. The other thing is Suez has been very proactive about doing extra sampling in the plant itself. So there's a lab in the plant that is used for process sampling. It's not for reporting, it's just for process control. And I'll tell you, every time I go into the plant, there's somebody in that lab running processed water samples. So they're definitely on top of it, and the lab's being used to the benefit of this town.
Thank you. And then Russ, one other question. The monthly summary that I know you're working with Suez to refine, is that something that as a standard item, we could put it on the Weir River Water System website so that
Yes.
ratepayers
Yeah.
could, you know, I think, you know, I understand that for the first month or two, you're still kind of trying to work out what information's there, how it's going to be displayed. But I really did think that it covered a lot of important facets of the water system, and making it available on the website for ratepayers to view anytime they want, I think would be advantageous. I would also say that to the extent that there are any water quality submissions or things with the DEP, again, I think sometimes a lot of those questions come up, and if the information's available on the website, it's just maybe a little bit easier for the ratepayers. This is a great summary, and I would just echo, you know, Bill and Joe, you may recall that the Abrahams Group helped the town with the revenue analysis that was necessary for enterprise fund reporting with the Department of Revenue. And the quality of their work is impeccable. And through that work, they gained a really good understanding of our current rate structure. And that's why they're helping us right now validate the revenue that's being billed on our behalf. And I think that positions them well to engage in a cost of service study on behalf of the town. Again, it's an opportunity to leverage the expertise that they've acquired over the last 18 months.
Mary, I can tell you in my short time with them, I'm very impressed. I really am. I've heard of them, but I'm very impressed with the detail of their work and the effort they put in to make sure everything's right for the town. I'm very impressed with them.
That's good to hear. Before we adjourn, is there anyone in the public who has a question or wishes to make a comment about the water superintendent report? Okay, seeing none, I would accept a motion to adjourn the Board of Water Commissioners meeting. We will then just have a pause until 7 o'clock, at which time we will convene the Board of Selectmen meeting.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Mary? Aye.